What would happen if those same communities were to say, that's a musical instrument. We were part of modernity as well, though. You can keep that, but you give us John Lennon's first guitar. I think the question of where an artwork belongs, should also be framed as who belongs to an artwork. And when I think about these objects from Assyria, and I think about the displacement of Assyrians over many, many years now, and the way in which that community has gone from being in the millions before the invasion in 2003 to now being in the hundreds of thousands, I start to think about the diaspora and how there actually can be some degree of relief in being able to convene with the objects of one's ancestors where they end up. However, this is not an excuse for those encyclopedic and imperial museums whose blueprint and the foundation was based on depopulation and extraction. And in the cases of Africa and places like Benin, it was accompanied by massacres. So restitution is very important. And a lot of these objects were spiritual objects. They were not meant to be looked at in a passive way, they were meant to operate. So to your question, I will say that yes, there can be something very nice about seeing the cultures of many different people in a museum. And I believe in the possibility of an encyclopedic museum, not an imperial museum, but an encyclopedic museum being a place that can be the exploration of our curiosity in one another's cultures. But that is not how the museum began. The foundation of it is about plunder. And so if we were to move in another direction and open up those conversations about restitution, and perhaps we get to a point, and this is a thought experiment, of the people of Mesopotamia being given the choice of whether or not they want the lyre that's in the collection of the British Museum that came from Ur to be returned. What would happen if those same communities were to say, that's a musical instrument. We were part of modernity as well, though. You can keep that, but you give us John Lennon's first guitar. What happens then if we start to kind of imagine that world where everyone then has to look at their culture in fragments? So if we're going to talk about mutual curiosity that way, we have to be prepared. And I know that it's been used in a very smart and humorous way, with some people imagining Stonehenge, being kind of dismantled and sent to different museums around the world, but that we're looking at the encyclopedic museum as something that would emerge in a place like Baghdad, that would talk about the cultures of America or wherever else. But before we get there, there needs to be a reckoning, and there needs to be accountability. There needs to be more than apology. So it's not just about repatriation, it's about restitution. And restitution is about making something whole. And when I've written my requests for my work to be an opening for the possibility for somebody to return something from the museums that have asked me to show there, it is about not just repatriation, but also restoration. And when we talk about restorative justice is a process that goes on and on. It doesn't allow for it to be as easy as apology, which is often uttered more to relieve the person saying it than to heal the person who's receiving it. It's a process that you return to over and over and over again. But this is something that I think needs to be collective, and I absolutely support the demands from countries that want their cultural heritage returned.